Hello, welcome for viewing this one. Today we'll be adding some lighting to our photo and of course doing some editing to make it look something like this. This should be the end result of this photo. So without wasting time, let's go to unlock this layer button by clicking it once. Go to filter. Using the camera raw filter, this one Alt Control F will take us to the last settings of our last photo. So we'll have to create a new one, camera raw filter. Let's wait as it loads. Switching. Yes. So you make sure it is in the basic format. You go to basic, you show these parts. This will be our editing place. We have the temperature. Of course, no one really likes to do with the temperature unless it's necessary. So I like to leave mine on 0. The tint, I like to leave that on 0 too. So the best part, we have the exposure. Exposure we have here, this one is the lightness of a photo. So at times you prefer it to be a bit light but not too much light, so you add the slider. We have the contrast. Contrast deals with the darkness of a photo and the lightness by making the dark part more darker and the light part more lighter. So you'll have to increase the contrast for good quality. The highlight is what you notice by the difference. Some parts of the photo should be clear, others shouldn't. So this one depends on the photo. You have the shadows. Most people like to leave the shadows on dark, shadows to remain dark, so you reduce the slider. Keep on by the whites. You can make the whites more white. Then most likely you have the whites to be white. Have the blacks. We want to reduce the blacks to be more black. Have the texture. Look what the texture does. This is the smoothness of a photo. So most of the time you want the photo to be a bit smooth, so you reduce it a bit. Clarity. This is the effect of clarity in a photo, but you'll have to increase it a bit so it goes together with the texture. Dehaze, I want you to see what dehaze will do. 91 will do something like that. 0, then you increase it a bit. You'll have your picture in that one. But the most important part, we have the vibrance and the saturation. Vibrance will make the green part green, the yellow part yellow, the red part to be red. This one doesn't change the color, it just increases the vibrance, vibrance of the picture from the word. So we'll have to increase the vibrance a bit. You don't want to overdo it, it will look something like that. We don't want something like that in photos. We want something that looks realistic. So we'll go to saturation. Mostly it's not required that much. As long as you've dealt with the vibrance, you'll have to keep saturation a bit. Then you can click OK. But this, we have other areas here. We have the curves. Curves, most likely curves will have to be in a S-like manner. This one, if you increase this part, the light to become light, so you increase a bit. Go to this area, increase a bit, or you reduce, so it forms something like an S. You reduce a bit, forms something like an S. So with that one you can click OK. Have the height, no, nothing is required there. You have the sharpening, the noise reduction. This one you just increase the slider, but our photos will not require to do it. So you click OK. So you wait for it to apply. Yeah, that's something like that. Sometimes you'll need to add a layer of maybe sunlight. You create a layer, then you select your brush. Once you select your brush, general brush, soft brush, to reduce the hardness to 0. Then you select the color of this brush to at least yellow. See yellow, then OK. Then you can increase the size of the brush by the brackets. Then you can add something like that. Click once. That's adding the sunlight to that photo. But that's not all, so you'll have to go to overlay, make the layer style to be overlay, and that overlay is too much, so you'll have to reduce the opacity so it shows something from afar. It doesn't have to be so late, just have to be something like that, then you're done. So this photo has something like this, you see, but sometimes you can increase that yellowness to his face, to her face, to look something like that. You click back, you reduce the opacity so it shows from afar. Thank you for watching. I've been your host, King Shallow.